So Security Breach came out in December last year, and well, people had a lot to say about it. There's an underlying feeling of mediocrity in this game. Something just doesn't feel right here, and everybody walked by past this game while giving it a side-eyed look.
This was Five Nights at Freddy's big jump into the mainstream. What was supposed to be its next big step ended up being a flop to the face. Looking back at the trailers, it felt like they were trying to make a different game, but with the development hell it went through, things turned out a bit burnt. Seeing as how there's over an hour's worth of unused content, yeah, I think it's safe to say that it's not the same game they had envisioned. In the end, Security Breach left me feeling kinda like Freddy himself. Empty inside.
This game seemed ready to be gone and forgotten when out of nowhere, boom! New DLC announced coming 2023. We only have one teaser, but by the looks of it, it seems promising. So I thought it'd be fun if I said hello again to this game and made a wish list of things I'd like to see in the Ruined DLC. And yes, I'm very aware that this video will definitely age poorly. But screw it, everyone has milked this game for everything it's worth. It's my turn to suck from those delicate udders. And also Halloween special, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure when I'll upload this, but it's October to me, so yeah, Merry Halloween. And before we get started, let me just say that I actually still enjoyed this game. I do like it despite everything I'm about to say. You can still like something and criticize it at the same time. You're not a fake fan for doing so. If anything, it just shows how passionate you are about it. So with that out of the way, let's get started. Number 1. Vanny. Vanny. Yeah, just Vanny. Need I see more? Well, yes I do, because I still have 14 whole paragraphs that I wrote about her. Without a doubt, one of the biggest disappointments of this game is how they utilize the Vanny. Or how they don't, for that matter. And yes, I'll be counting Vanessa along with her. The fandom may not be able to agree on a timeline, but what they can agree on is how these two are utterly wasted in this game. Throughout Security Breach, you're made aware of many looming threats that are actively trying to maul open your stomach open to eat the digesting pizza inside. And the game makes it clear that Vanny stands above the rest.
So where the fuck is she?
Seriously, is that costume so hot that you need to take constant breaks to cool yourself down? Not counting the multiple endings, Vanny appears a total of about 6 times. 6! And that's not even mentioning that some of her spawns rely on your slow progress in order for her to catch up to Gregory. So if you only count the times she is the main active threat and take into account that you're a speedy player, then she has the potential to only appear 3 times. 3! What are you doing to us? Vanessa, on the other hand, makes about 5 appearances, and that's kind of stretching it. Guess how many of those encounters is she an actual threat to you? 1. Only 1 time. And there's nothing special about her encounter. She acts like any other roaming sack of bolts and Festus mall. She doesn't even chase you. You need to make a conscious decision to run into her for her to do anything. What the hell happened here? I get that she disappears later in the game because Vanny takes over her probably. But come on, couldn't you have given her more to do? The most mileage you get out of her is her white woman jump scare. Really? I changed my mind, she's perfect the way she is.
So where am I getting at with all this? Well, obviously, I want to see more of them in the DLC. And the fact that we don't even see her in the first teaser...
Vanny has a lot of potential. She's the reluctant follower. She's infected by a virus created by a child killer. I was hoping to see some sort of internal struggle or battle with her literal inner demon in the game. It would have made her a complex antagonist, a lot different from Afton. But no, Security Breach just made her straight up evil. Okay, fine, whatever, she's evil. So how about you actually make her the main antagonist? You know, like she was supposed to be? Let her be an actual character instead of an extension to Afton. And don't worry, we'll get to that craggly bastard later. Seeing how there's some unused stuff like the Vanny meter and unused animations and voice lines.
Gregory, we can get you out of here. You and me together. There is more going on here than you realize.
I think it's safe to say she was definitely supposed to be more prevalent throughout the game, but was cut down for some godforsaken reason, which is a shame since in my opinions, her encounters are some of the more frightening segments of the game. Something about her more organic movement in contrast to the robotic machines around her, how your vision gets progressively more distorted the closer she gets, and just the way she runs in you when she's near enough. Ugh. This is legitimately unnerving and it sucks we get so little. And listen, I get that plans change during development and ideas are added and taken out as the game grows. I understand, I get it. But when you revolve your whole marketing and promotional material around these two... Yeah, sorry for thinking these two were gonna be more important. Yeah, that's my bad. Whoops, my mistake.
Does this look like a side character?
Not to mention, they also took her knife away? Why? Just legitimately why? Why can't you let your antagonist be threatening? I guess she wouldn't have much to do with it, but it could have still been cool to see her wandering around with it. She could have used it in her jump scare to stab Gregory or something. Is this game that scared of itself? This quote-unquote horror game about dead children and rotting corpses can't even show an implication of a stabbing? You even give her a knife in her Funko figure. What a fucking embarrassment. So what do I want? I want Vanny to take the center stage in the DLC. Fuck Burntrap and fuck the Blob. Give Vanny the spotlight and let her shine like she was supposed to. That's all really. Give her her knife and let her be a participant during gameplay. She's back in the building because she lives there, has unfinished business, or is just messing around. I don't know. There's not all that much to it. I'm not sure how to work Vanessa in this setting, but I can see her wandering around too. Maybe you can have Vanny's suit have a worn out, disabled appearance, like the stitches are opening and suit foam stuff, whatever you call it, is falling out. Her mask is burnt, her eyes are broken. I don't know, make her look threatening. Now regarding her personality, I don't really have any strong opinions. It's fine, I like it I guess. They're going for a gleeful sadism and playful vibe, and Vanessa is definitely a more serious, no nonsense kind of attitude, with a lot of secret insecurities. It's nothing groundbreaking, but I definitely want to see more of her personality pop in the DLC. Overall, just have her be in the game more. That's all I ask of you. By now I sound like a broken record, but they just did her so dirty, man. But above all else, the absolute worst thing they did to Vanessa was cut her hair.
So I know that was a lot for just one character, so next on my wish list is something a little more broader. I want this game to be darker. Perfect.
Now I don't just mean in appearance, but also tonally. This game is pretty colorful with all the neon signs and brightly lit rooms. It's a nice aesthetic, just not for horror. Not saying it can't be done, but I feel like Security Breach barely even tries. It feels more loud than scary. Does that make sense? And the characters. Holy hot Cheetos. The characters. We've come a long way from the silent, groaning nature and dead-eyed stares of the old animatronics. But is that necessarily a good thing? These new animatronics are big and flashy and in your face. They never shut up and are full of personality. In which I mean they're assigned a single personality trait, but still, they're here and they make sure you know it. We finally get to see an animatronic chase us in one of these games. It only took 7 years, but they're finally exercising. But it comes at a price. These animatronics just aren't scary to me. I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong, I still like them. They're a lot of fun, but they don't scare me. This game doesn't scare me. FNaF is far from its infancy, and along the way, I feel like it lost one of the best things about the first game. Now, a little interjection here. How many of you guys have actually played the games? Come on. You're a big fan? Have you played the game? Raise your hand. Let's see it. Raise a show of hands. Yeah, I thought so. When I first played the first FNaF game, I was surprised at how much it legitimately scared the absolute shit out of me. I knew everything going in. The story, the mechanics, everything about this game I already knew, and I was still terrified. How did it scare me when I knew what to expect? Simple. It was the atmosphere! And that's the magic word. Atmosphere. Security Breach lacks atmosphere. These staff bots are littered everywhere in this game, literally. And they're more annoying than anything. You constantly need to weave and wait around for them, and it just doesn't do it for me. There's no atmosphere here. It dissolves into red light, green light. All of this game's locations and the animatronics are really cool, but again, it's just so grandiose than scary. I think Ryetoast said it best.
And that's one of the biggest issues with this game. There's no room for horror because all the room is taken up by spectacle.
And you know what's the funny part? I think this game could have totally pulled it off. Seriously, I feel like it had the perfect blueprints for it. Somewhere in the debug menu, there's an option to essentially turn off the lighting in the game. And this is what I'm talking about. I think this game would have benefited if they made it darker like this. I'm not saying to do it one for one like you're seeing here. There's definitely ways it could be tweaked. But my point is that making it darker would have helped sell the tension. Don't believe me? Let me direct you to the daycare, one of the only actual scary parts of the game. This colorful daycare is turned into a waking nightmare with the lights off. The moon guy is creepy with his movements and voice, and the dark playground almost gives me a liminal vibe. It's great in here. If the rest of the game was like this, then I think we could have had a winner. As for the characters, guess what? They had it! It was in their palms. They were so close. While their normal appearances may not be that frightening, their shadow variants, they have so much potential. When Chica showed up down there in the dark sewers with her busted ass voice, oh my god, that was legitimately really creepy. The Shattered were the perfect solution for me. They have the glamorous bright design the devs want, but with a creepy broken twist added in. But after breaking them, they're just added back to roam their normal bright areas. Come on. Check out some of this fan-made stuff I found. Look at this, it's scary. Can you imagine this thing crawling towards you in the dark? Ugh. I've already touched upon Vanny's appearance a bit, but she's also not really scary. This low-res model is creepier than her in-game look. She could have been scary. Check out this other fan-made render of her with darker eyes. It's a very subtle difference, but it instantly makes her way creepier. So, I want a darker and creepier look to the Pixelplex in the DLC. I want more of these shattered variants roaming around in dark places. And judging by the first teaser alone, I'm actually pretty hopeful for this wish. With it presumably taking place after the Afton ending, the Plex is in complete disarray and ruins? The building looks far darker and gloomier, and this freaking melted Chica back here, oh heck yeah. I don't think I like it more than the Shattered version, but that still looks like it has the potential to be freaky as hell. I have high hopes for this, but it is just a first teaser, so who knows.
Now that was just appearance, but I also want the tone to match the aesthetic. Perfect.
Like I've said before, I feel like FNaF is kind of scared of itself. It's scared of going out of its comfort zone and making the story darker and scarier. For a horror game with over 9 games, it doesn't really have any blood. Freaking Kirby has more blood than FNaF. You're not a baby anymore. You're 8 years old. You're a big boy now. So maybe it's time you start acting like it. Now I'm not saying to make it over the top edgy cut myself gore fest. No, absolutely not. That would get boring and not scary so fast. I want it to be a little more mature is all. Remember all the way back when Scott made a troll post about a mature FNaF sister location? Well, part of me wishes that was real. Listen, the fan base has grown up. They know what to expect from these games at this point. And FNaF is actually old enough to be nostalgic now, and it conveys itself as a friendly horror franchise. So in my opinion, it's the perfect time to start pumping some fresh blood into the games. I've read some of the Fazbear Frights book, and there's definitely some darker tones in here. But every time something graphic was going to happen, it kind of copped out. It like pulls the camera away before we get to the good part. It's scared of itself. The later books get a little more detailed with those parts, and even disturbing sometimes. And while I haven't read them yet, I've heard that Tales from the Pixelplex is a little more graphic. So FNaF definitely has, are you ready? Potential for darker stories to tell. I was initially hesitant to include this part in the video because I thought I was the only one who felt this way. But after seeing the overwhelming praise for FNaF Plus, I think it's safe to say that a lot of us are yearning for a darker tone. And I hope Scott or Steel War are taking note of that. I'm not really looking for anything specific in the DLC, just a darker and scarier tone. Splatter some actual blood instead of tomato paste. Have the, what I'm calling melted animatronics, come in and out of the darkness. Maybe have Freddy turn on us since he's so friendly, it would be a corruption of innocence or something, and a more sinister vibe, as opposed to the more humorous vibe FNaF is going for these days. FNaF has always been humorous, since day one.
The only parts of you that would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out the front of the mask. Yeah, they don't tell you these things when you sign up.
But with Freddy in tow, it's a lot. I don't really mind the jokes, but we all know what can happen if they're taken to excess. But overall, just make it scary and darker. That's all I'm really asking.
Alright, I'm back. Get it? Because Afton, he always comes back. It's his thing. We're talking about Afton now.
Afton. William Afton. Okay, first of all, I'll be the first one to admit that when I first saw him in the game with that small little cutscene, I was excited as hell. It was cool, alright? But now that I'm over the hype and have calmed down a bit, I think Afton and the Blob are a huge point of ridicule. Afton's story was finished. He was burnt in Pizzeria Simulator and sent to his own personal hell by Golden Freddy. Boom, done, book is closed. It was satisfying. It was a satisfying ending to the main antagonist of this franchise. To bring him back and retcon all that to be some sort of dream or whatever, I don't know. It sucks. It's disappointing. It takes away from that god tier speech from Henry and retroactively makes him look like a complete goofy goober. To top it all off, he comes out of nowhere. Yeah, his hand is in the trailer and he even speaks. Holy shit, he spoke. I completely forgot about that.
You will bring me what I want!
You shouldn't rely on trailers to flesh out the story of your game. There's nothing here that ever makes you go, is Afton back? The only semblance of a hint are these purple graffitis down with the glam windows. Twist or secret villains can definitely work if done right, but you have to give us something to anticipate. And don't even get me started on his lame ass boss fight. We'll get to that later. The only good thing I can say about Afton is that his design is really cool. Even if it's just more decomposed Springtrap and kind of rips off Ignited Springtrap from Joy of Creation. But still, it's really sick to look at. It might be my new favorite design, honestly. As for the Blob, I don't really have any strong opinions on him. He's just meh to me. I guess I like his design. I mean, I don't dislike it at least. He appears out of nowhere like Afton. It's weird that he's kind of protecting him but then turns on him. Nobody ever mentions or acknowledges him in game. I don't know, I don't really have much to say about him. Especially since we don't know him like we do Afton. Again, meh. So my wish list for these two is going to go into a bit more speculative theory territory, so bear with me for a bit. Ever since Help Wanted, my personal headcanon was that Glitchtrap isn't Afton. They're not one and the same. To me, they were always separate entities. To me, Afton's story was done. He's in hell, and that's it. There's nothing else. So to me, Glitchtrap was a copy of him, a digital manifestation of his personality, and that's it. I know it's weird and hard to explain what I mean, but it has his personality, his sadism, and his killer instinct, but not his full personality. It's like a basic I can't say that. It's like a basic blueprint or outline of him. Glitchtrap doesn't have his same ambition, his spirit or soul. He just wants to terrorize and kill, carry on his legacy. So that way we can still have a killer rabbit on the loose, but without taking away from Afton's ending. It was the perfect compromise to me, especially since it seemed like Glitchtrap was passing on the mantle to Vanny or merging with her or something. And the thing is, Security Breach didn't outright confirm or deconfirm anything. I know there's the trailer, but ignoring that, the game didn't say anything about Burn Trap. So it's not out of the question yet that there's separate entities? Question mark? Here's how I see it. We have Afton's dead, rotting, burnt corpse that Vanny has recovered. Glitchtrap transfers his mind to the corpse and possesses it. And boom, we brought back Afton without actually bringing him back. Burntrap's corpse is possessed by a digital copy of himself. How crazy would that be? Again, it's purely speculative, but the biggest thing I have going for me is that Burntrap has purple glowing eyes when his past incarnations didn't, except for Glitchtrap. I don't know guys, I think my theory could be valid. So I want the DLC to basically confirm my fanfiction and that's it. Because if I'm being honest, I don't really want Afton or the Blob or Blobtrap to be in ruin that much. That's just going to take away attention from Vanny. I want Vanny to be the main focus. And for that to happen, Blobtrap just has to take the back seat. I don't see a way to incorporate these two without contradicting the points I made about Vanny. You would need to straight up go back before while Secure Breach was still in development and fix it there. One way or another, they're going to be in the DLC, there's no doubt about that. So I want them to maybe be under Vanny's control now? Blobtrap responds to her now? That could be a cool little reversal. I keep saying Blobtrap because my prediction is that they merge with each other. If they're going to be the main antagonists, how about you actually set them up this time? Maybe explain why they're back, And for the love of God, if it is the real Afton that's back, just keep him dead this time. This ancient rabbit can only get so decomposed before he's actual powder. It's time to let him go. Stop being scared of yourself and try a new antagonist for once. Above all else, I just want Vanny to outshine them, alright? That's the main point.
Okay, next on my wish list, I want this DLC to have a clear story. Yeah, I know. Asking for a clear story from FNaF is like asking MatPat to stop stealing fan art.
In all seriousness, I don't think it's a hot take to ask for a clear story. I know FNaF thrives on its confusing story and vague lore, but I feel like they went too far with Security Breach. Does anyone have any idea what's going on in this game? Everything is so weird and disjointed. Things just kind of happened and then kept happening. They would introduce elements that later had no payoff. Like, why is Gregory here? What's his deal? Sometimes I felt like entire scenes were missing from the script. Like disappearances? Missing children? Where did that come from? Why is it never mentioned or brought up again? Freddy can't see Vanny until he gets new eyes? That feels underdeveloped. And then it feels like they cut something out but just forgot to remove all of it. Like you gotta glitch arcades like Chica's Bakery and Monty's Golf, except you don't and only glitch BB's Error World. Why is this here? And what purpose does it serve? It goes nowhere. This game's story goes nowhere. I get that FNaF has always had a confusing story, but the difference is that the other games always had a surface level story. 1 through 3, you had to survive a bunch of murderous animatronics to earn your paychecks. Someone gets murdered, the place gets closed down, an attraction burns to the ground. Boom, surface level story. You know what's up, you survived your job and saw the outcome of a small scale story. But if you wanted, you could dig deeper. You would find out about missing children, about purple guys, and who Springtrap really is. But it isn't reliant on those things. If you just finish the game normally and go on with your day with a clear story in mind, you don't have to dig for lore if you don't want to. Even in a more story-heavy game like Sister Location, there was a surface-level story with a takeaway. In Security Breach, the story is entirely dependent on the lore. And when the lore is a mismatched jigsaw puzzle put in a blender, then no one has any idea what the takeaway is. Like, is this Vanny's sister or spirit or what? It makes no sense. It definitely felt like they were trying to tell a story, but they had to keep adding and cutting things out over and over. But they couldn't get all the ingredients out of the soup, so some of it was left in there and just made the soup a weird mystery broth. People love to clown Steel Wool and blame them for making a mess of the story, but let me be blunt with you, I think it's more so Scott's fault. If this Q&A is anything to go by, Scott had complete control over the story. He had the final say on everything. So if we're being fair, we have to criticize Scott's storytelling. Scott, listen. This technique may have worked for indie games, there's no denying that, but this is a AAA game, so maybe you should treat it like one. No more vague nonsense. Give us a clearer path to what you want to tell without forcing us to make wild assumptions and leaving us in the dark. You can still be mysterious about things, but stop making it feel like you're just throwing random crumbs at us and making us lick it up like a bunch of peasants. So for the DLC, I'm just looking for a clearer story. Hopefully it wraps up the truckload of unresolved loose ends that Security Breach left us. Explain Gregory's story, wrap up Vanny's identity dilemma, and tell us what the heck is up with Roxy. Seriously, why'd you make her so sexy? What does this tell us about the lore? Are the employees furries? Is that the answer that solves everything?
Okay, so next up isn't really a wish, it's more of an honorable mention, cause I think it's pretty obvious and shouldn't require someone asking for it. But I want this game to have polish. No, not Polish, polish.
Steel Wool, do you have a couple of wolves in sheep's clothing in there? What the hell is this? This game will forever be drenched in infamy and mockery for the condition it was released in. Just an ocean of bugs and glitches. It was like Glitchtrap himself infested the game. It was so bad that people were straight up finishing the game in like 2 minutes with these bugs. It was near unplayable at times. Needless to say, the game was unfinished. This cake wasn't even half baked and needed more time in the oven. Not to mention, after 6 a.m., save stations were no longer available. How did this idea not only come out of someone's mouth, but was approved, implemented, and released to the public? I want to see the pitch meeting for this idea because it was a god-awful idea for a game based on trial and error with a huge learning curve. And back to Hampton's boss battle. Do you know how I beat it? By camping behind this bed and never letting Roxy reach me. Do you know why I did this? Because I had no fucking idea what to do. When Roxy appears, Freddy says, Hide? Oh, okay, you got it. Let me just quickly hide in you until she goes away. Oh, what? You just let me out? Okay, let me try hiding inside one of the charging stations. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, let me try to stay out of sight. Nope, she finds you. Let me try dodging and weaving until she leaves. Oh god, I can't do this. Maybe Freddy is full of shit and I do close the door. Oh, nope, that doesn't work either. I never saw the blob's tentacles because Roxy never left. I beat Afton by just camping by her all night. So how do you get rid of Foxy? By yelling at her. You know, that technique you forgot you had because you never used it, because it was ultimately useless, because none of the animatronics can hurt you inside of Freddy anyway? Seriously, hide your fucking wife. So obviously, how about you finish the DLC before you actually release it? To anyone paying attention, it's pretty obvious how they allowed themselves to release this game in this state. A, they had delayed the game for over a year and were under pressure, and B, it was near Christmas, so it's just good marketing to release it for the holidays. And this is all coming from a guy who played Security Breach for the first time in June. Yeah, straight up. And you know what? My experience was so much better because of that. They added a save state in the atrium so I didn't have to deal with a no saving headache. And they smoothed out a bunch of the bugs. There were still a few, don't get me wrong, but overall I had a way better experience than most did. But they still haven't patched out Roxy's horrible instructions? Come on, Steelwool. It's been months. Are you drunk off of grease? It's like a Miyamoto once said, a good game is eventually released. A rushed game is eventually Security Breach. Even though this game is in way better condition now, it will never, ever be forgotten how botched it was during release. And it's a damn shame to be remembered like that. So yeah, just make sure the DLC isn't glitchy and we'll be good to go.
So those are the 5 basic categories in my wish list. So next up is a bit of a rapid fire round for miscellaneous things that don't really fit into any of these categories.
Music Man is universally the best thing about this game, period. He's only used for one segment, so I want him everywhere. I want more Music Man. Can you imagine this thing crawling around a ruined facility with that kick-ass music? Yes, please. So the Moon, these guys are amazing. We need more of these chaotic energies, especially Sun, since we don't see him as much. These Nightmare staff outs were all over the teasers and they barely did shit. Not really a wish list, I just wanted to point that out. Bonnie's little side story was pretty cool. It'd be nice to see more of that type of world building. I know I didn't really talk about Gregory that much. That's because I don't have any strong opinions on him. He's cool enough, seeing as how he consistently dismantles these animatronics, which is something we've all wanted to do since FNaF 1. Looks like he'll be playing a different role in Ruin. Although it's unclear, to me, this help me, it's more of a determined help me end this than a cry for help. Whatever this new character is, yeah, I got nothing to really say about it. I guess I hope she kicks ass as much as Gregory did. Although I like these comic cutscenes, and I don't mean to be rude, but I wish they were a little bit better drawn. I'm sorry, but Gregory's face terrifies me sometimes. It'd be cool to see more animated cutscenes too, since they look so good when they want to. Mazer's eyes was a prick in the neck, and I hope it burnt up and it was buried, never to be seen again. Monty's Getter Golf was so cool. Why didn't you let us play it? I know we had this arcade machine, but I want to play golf here, damn it. Seriously, you go through all that trouble to model and design this place and you don't even let us use it. Wow. It's probably destroyed and ruined, but I don't know, it could still be functional. And finally, Roxy's Raceway, same story as Monty's Golf. Probably the two things I was most excited to try, and neither had any actual gameplay implemented. What a letdown.
And with that, I'm finally done reading my Christmas list off to you. Because if I'm being honest, it's probably going to be Christmas by the time I'm done with this goddamn video. I'm aware that this video was kinda half pseudo review and a bit incoherent at times. Especially for DLC that probably won't even be that big to begin with. But I've had a lot on my mind ever since I played this game. And it was so damn satisfying to finally let it all out. As for my wish list, do I actually think any of this is gonna come true? Maybe?
Vanny, I have the highest hope of coming true because that was one of the biggest complaints about this game. A darker tone? Probably not, since FNaF is a game for kids. But it does seem like the building will be darker, so Afton? Probably not, since the ending set them up to be the next big bad again. But it's still a little in the air, huh? Story? Who the hell knows? Polish? God, I hope so. Scott used to interact with the fanbase a lot. Sometimes I wonder how he would have responded to all the criticism of Security Breach if he was never cancelled. But we'll probably never know, unfortunately.
But something that we do know is that he always listened to the fans, for the most part. And whether or not he's actually retired or working behind the scenes, I trust that he learned his lesson of oversaturation. As for Steel Wool, they got a lot of backlash for this game, so I definitely think they learned their lesson, whatever that lesson may be. The Rune DLC is free, so they don't have to worry about making a profit. And they don't have to feel pressured about Christmas release date. So hopefully they take their time and make this DLC the best that they can. As for me, well, I'm fairly excited for this DLC. But I'm gonna keep my hype in check. After all, this is the same franchise that established that Vanessa had a rainbow streak in her hair. And it never showed up in game. Where is her rainbow streak? We were promised a rainbow streak. How could you lie to us? We want her rainbow streak in Ruin. Give it to me now!